Hi, good morning. Today, related with the case between Republic of Larka, the Kingdom of Vatoria, and Almeria, I have these considerations. Main issue: can Almeria be considered a state when it is only recognized by 50 states and it was done through self-determination without violating the parameters of international law for state recognition, thus acquiring treaty obligation previously acquired by Vatoria? Can Almeria disregard the lasting peace treaty signed by Victoria in 1875 with Larkia for the extraction area without violating rights and obligations previously acquired by Victoria and Larkia without violating parts of the treaty? That are my main issues. Second issues that I consider uh, is the method used for the separation or the mechanism used for the separation of Vatoria legitimately valid under international law to consider itself a state? Can Almeria ask Estonia for extradition to prosecute Mrs. Ivanova for crimes of genocide for the abduction of children on the border with Larkia without violating rights and principle of immunity jurisdiction? Can Larkia invade the territories of Almeria without violating international law and likewise take into its custody children who are in the territory of Almeria, violating human rights and the jurisdictional principle of nationality? Can Estonia apprehend Ms. Ivanova, citing the universal principle of jurisdiction without violating Mrs. Ivanova's immunity rights? In this case, I will resolve the first main issue related with the succession state. So the rules that I found was Montevideo Convention, in which the four elements are stipulated to determine a state. Second one, Charter of the United Nations of 1945 in the first article recognized the referendum for self-determination of the states. And third, Vienna Convention of 1978 and the Articles 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 that regulating the obligation of the treaties acquired by the predecessor state against association of states. In accordance with those established by the Montevideo Convention, Almeria can be considered a state in the light of international law because it complies with the four elements established in it. First one, it has a permanent population that was approved the referendum in this case. Second, it is a defined territory, so it's applied in this case because the territory delimited is border with Larkia. That is the dispute right now. Third one, it has a government, yes, which promote the reference, so yes, apply. And a fourth, has the ability to enter into relations with other states, so much so that it is recognized by 50 states and belong to a United Nations organization, which indicates that in the face of the international law, it complies with what is established. Likewise, the mechanism by which it became independent, that was the referendum autodetermination, which in this case was a referendum for self-determination, is recognized by the letter of the United Nations in its Article 1, which allow establishing that the mechanism used does not violate any international law. So, in this case, it is a state. Likewise, since it is recognized as a state, it must complete with the obligation that this figure imposed on it. So, in light of the Vienna Convention of 1978, in its articles 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, Almeria must continue to respect the lasting peace treaty of 1875, signed by Vatoria and Larkia, since this treaty regulates and agrees benefits on a territory that is now in Almeria for both states, Larkia and Vatoria, in that moment. Therefore, and before the regulation of succession of treaties, Almaria cannot ignore this treaty because, according to the Vienna Convention, the only treaties that cannot be ignored and must continue their course by the successors there are those that involve territories and use of the territories. There is some exceptions, but is when it's the military base. But in this case, it's not it doesn't apply. So um, the Almaria needs to continue with this territory, with this treaty. I'm sorry. In this case, Almaria does not continue to complete with the lasting peace treaty. It will be in breach of it for causing damage to Larkia and violating the rights previously acquired by Larkia in accordance with the provision of the 1875 Treaty lasting of peace. In conclusion, Almaria is considered a state, therefore it cannot ignore the lasting peace treaty of 1875 signed between Larkia and Batoria. Thank you.